What is going on, Laker fans? What is going on? Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is a Sunday afternoon, little special edition here of Lakers Talk. Maybe we call this the pregame show before the pregame show, because pregame starts at 5:30. Couldn't wait till 5:30. Okay, Laker fans, we couldn't wait till 5:30. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you all being a part of the show. Obviously, we got some news to talk about here. It's not official, but it's as official as it could be before being official. Andre Drummond is going to be a Los Angeles Laker. I might be hitting refresh a little bit here, just if it all comes down officially. But yesterday, obviously, we found out last night. Adrian Wojnarowski had put out a couple different tweets, basically that Andre Drummond was leaning towards the Lakers. He put out a tweet: Lakers stars have been recruiting Drummond hard, and Lakers situation offers him a chance to step into the starting lineup. And then earlier today, we saw Woj's tweet about once Andre Drummond clears waivers, which, by the way, he just cleared waivers, according to Mark Stein of the New York Times. Once he clears waivers at 5 p.m. Eastern, he intends to sign with the Lakers. His agent, Jeff Schwartz of Excel Basketball, tells ESPN. So where we're sitting right now is it's just a matter of time before this becomes official. And in the meantime, let's freaking talk about the addition of Andre Drummond and what that means to this Los Angeles Lakers team. So as you can see here, our wonderful graphics below from Carlo, the dude can play ball. 17.5 points a game, shot 47% from the field, thrown another 13.5 rebounds, over a block a game. Obviously, this guy can play. Here's the key with Andre Drummond. If you told me you're starting a franchise around Andre Drummond and he's the main guy, I would tell you that that's not that should not be your foundation. But if you told me, which is the way the Lakers are obviously the position that they're in right now, is Andre Drummond is coming on this squad as a buyout player. Is coming on this squad where you're not obviously paying him $27 million or whatever his contract is. You didn't trade to try to match salaries. You already have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You already have Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder. And you're basically asking a guy like Andre Drummond, who has an incredible skill set, to come in to be a quote-unquote role player. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good position to be in. And that's why I think this is so significant. Listen, I don't have to tell Laker fans out there. I've heard it since the beginning of the season. Everybody talking about why did you give up or why didn't you go get Dwight Howard? JaVale McGee was part of a trade. You got Marc Gasol. Lakers are undersized. They don't have a rim protector. We've heard that all season long. And I've always, my stance on that has always been it's fair. It's completely fair to have that stance. But I think the big thing is, as we sit here today, one of the question marks, and I know I've mentioned this a couple months ago, if the Lakers thought that this was obviously a huge hole of theirs, they'll address it. And if it gets addressed, they'll have an opportunity to address it either at the trade deadline or they'll have an opportunity to address it in the buyout market. Pelinka, 2 years in a row, has come through in the buyout market where, if you want to I think you could have made the argument both ways. Lakers didn't make a trade at Thursday's deadline. And I think you can make a case that the Lakers should have made a trade for Kyle Lowry. And I think there's a case that you could definitely make that says, no, why would you be giving up that many assets, 35-year-old? You lose some of your depth, but you would have been getting a champion, somebody that's ready to come win a championship. You could have made that argument either way. But what we could not make an argument about was you got to get better with size. You need size. Damian Jones, Lakers didn't grab him in that second 10-day contract. A lot of the rumors were they're not grabbing him because they don't want him the rest of the season because they think they can do better. They obviously did better. This was the prized possession in this market of the trade deadline and the buyout market. This was the guy. The rich got richer. The Lakers obviously got much better by adding a player like Andre Drummond to the Lakers. One of the things I will point out on Andre Drummond, he has not played since February 12th. So Brad Turner has sent out a tweet. Brad Turner from the LA Times few hours ago. Lakers have been informed that Andre Drummond will sign with them as soon as he clears waivers today. Drummond hopes to attend Lakers game tonight versus Orlando. So attend. I don't know how long it's going to be for Andre Drummond to get back to playing shape and get back to, obviously this long stretch for the Lakers or this couple of months before the playoffs start. But one of the things I will say, he hasn't played since February 12th. I put out a tweet. And basically, one of the things that I was pointing out, something that I feel like is just as important as that playoff run that's about to start in less than 60 days, is Andre Drummond helping the Lakers in the time that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are not around. So winning right now is incredibly important for the Lakers. You don't want to keep dropping in the standings. I know you and I, this is very often with Laker fans, we sit here and, we obviously talk about how we look at the standings and, well, it doesn't matter where the Lakers are. Wherever they are, they'll be fine. They'll beat any team as long as they're healthy. I don't argue that by any stretch of the imagination. But if Andre Drummond can now come in, all of a sudden, maybe it stops the bleeding. Maybe now, instead of your head just keeping it above water, you're actually able to go out and win some of these games. And Andre Drummond gets comfortable and more and more comfortable with his role with the Lakers, so that by the time LeBron and AD come back, now you got this stretch window where everybody's playing together, and then boom, you're in the playoffs. So good start, Laker fans. Good start on our Sunday here. All right, I'm going to read off some of these comments here. We got Laker fans everywhere right now. Laker fans everywhere. Periscope, Facebook, YouTube. Laker fans are everywhere right now. But it's kind of interesting. Yesterday I was thinking about coming in and doing one of these shows. And the idea was I thought Andre Drummond would be official yesterday. So it obviously wasn't. And then here we are timing-wise of where the Lakers are coming into their game against Orlando. This will be good because Coach is going to talk, I think, at 5:15 later today. So we'll get his chance. When it becomes official, he'll be able to comment on it. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of things post-game show. Other players will be able to comment on it. So I'm a fan of the timing. Okay. When the Lakers are healthy, the starting five for the Los Angeles Lakers when they're healthy. I think there's going to be some shifting here with the starting lineup for the Lakers. And I'm gonna start off with this. I see all the comments coming in, but starting five for the Lakers when they're healthy: LeBron, AD. I think KCP, Dennis Schroeder. So I think those are the four that are, you could say, locks. Okay. So then it comes to the starting role at the center position. I don't feel like it's going to be, maybe it's a question mark, but I don't feel like it's going to be a question mark. I think Andre Drummond's going to be the starter for the Lakers at the 5. And to be honest with you, Marc Gasol, as much as you guys like his contributions this year, don't like his contributions, I'm going to tell you right now, that dude is a very, very unselfish player. That's the last person that's going to make noise, whether he's in the starting lineup or not. I think this is actually going to help Marc Gasol tremendously as well, because now Gasol doesn't have to go up against other starters. I think Gasol coming off the bench, all of a sudden, that passer, that passing big man can get the ball to Kuzma, can get the ball to Montrezl Harrell, can set up some of these other guys. I think this is going to help Marc Gasol. Most importantly, look at the freaking starting lineup. Look at that starting 5. I mean, you got a dude in Andre Drummond who's not going to be asked to do anything more than play defense, grab rebounds, get some putbacks, get a couple lobs. I think that puts Andre Drummond in a position where he can flourish in that role. Andre Drummond's not a player. If you're running your entire offense through him, if you're running all these plays for him, you're probably not that good of a team. But if you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are always going to eat first, always going to be, and they're unselfish players, LBJ's happy to dish out 15 assists a night before he puts up 30 points a night, even though he could put up 30 a night. But look at that starting 5. Jesus. I mean, is it just me, or does that look ridiculous right there? Okay. That's the starting five. What about when you go to the freaking bench? So there's your five. Now you got coming off the bench for the Lakers, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, THT, Marc Gasol, Alex Caruso, Wesley Matthews, Markieff Morris. Look at that depth that the Lakers have. And for me, I think this is, the key more than anything else. The biggest thing, one of the things that I paid so much attention to last season. Last season, one of the things I paid so much attention to, the Lakers had the ability to counter whatever another team's strength was. So I'll give you guys an example here. Got a lot of people talking about Brooklyn. We're going to get into Brooklyn in just a second. We'll do that in a little bit, okay? I got other people saying David Ellsbury on Periscope, KCP should be removed out of the starting lineup. He'll be fine. Don't worry about KCP. The guy plays defense. He'll start hitting some shots. Okay. So one of the things I thought the Lakers had such a great ability last year to do, by the way, put out a tweet. It just basically shows, obviously lists out the starters, lists out the bench and the depth. Forgot Wesley Matthews on there. I don't know why I forgot him, but forgot Wes. So add Wes on that mix, and then still one roster spot left, and we'll get into that one roster spot in just a second. So Lakers last year, you played Portland, and Portland played a certain way. Maybe Portland wanted to play big, or they wanted to sub in guys, and at time they wanted to go small. Lakers had a counter to every move. Okay, then you had the Houston Rockets, who didn't have anybody bigger than 6'7", 6'8", PJ Tucker. They didn't have Robert Covington. They went all small. Okay, you look at the Lakers roster. Markieff Morris now becomes a bigger role. THT plays a bigger role for the Lakers. AD, put him wherever, it doesn't matter. Lakers adjusted. You used Dwight and JaVale less. Lakers adjusted to the Houston Rockets. Miami wants to play a different style. Denver wants to play a different style. Lakers had players in a certain position that every single night they were able to adjust to the other team. Most teams in the NBA play one way. Denver's going to play one style of basketball. That's their style. They got better by the trade deadline. Portland's going to play one style. Clippers have one style that they're going to play. Maybe they could play small ball. Maybe they have the ability to go a little bit small ball, but not like the Lakers. And I think adding Andre Drummond, what this does now to the Lakers, it puts them in a similar position that they were in last year. Whoever the hell the Lakers play, they have a counter. They have a counter to whatever that specific team brings against them in the postseason, in the playoffs. Look, there's going to be many nights in the playoffs where Anthony Davis is going to play the 5. That's going to happen because AD at the 5 is just ridiculous. And, I don't care if it's Jokic or whatever the case is, but Andre Drummond's going to get opportunities. Andre Drummond, there's going to be times Drummond, I'm just going to use as an example, Joel Embiid, Jokic, a different type of bang. That the Laker fans loved Dwight Howard last year. I did too. How do you not love what Dwight Howard did for the Lakers last year? Andre Drummond is only, I think, 27 years old. Obviously, it's going to take him a second to get his legs back and to get everything back just from not playing a game since February 12th. But the dude is a beast. He really is a beast, and he's going to play a perfect role for the Lakers. Okay, let me read off. Why don't you guys start piling in here? Give me some comments, your thoughts. Your thoughts about grabbing Andre Drummond, what that does in the Western Conference. I don't want to do Brooklyn yet. We're going to do Brooklyn in just a second, all right? But the depth of the roster, let's start reading some of these off. Okay, here we go. People saying I'm late again. This is a good one. Victor Amuda on Facebook. Everyone got better. Clippers added Rondo. Good addition for the Clippers. Really, really good addition for the Clippers. I thought that was a key, critical, important move for the Clippers. I thought that was a big move. I definitely did. But with all that being said, if the Clippers added Andre Drummond on top of Rondo, in my opinion, okay, that's a problem. That's a problem what they were building there. Rondo's still going to be a problem, and the Clippers are still going to be a problem. But no question about it, this is not even, worth a conversation. Of course, the Western Conference runs through the Lakers. No doubt about it. What you could start saying is, did Denver get good enough to where they're now in that top 3 because of the moves that they made? What you could start making an argument with is, those are the things that I kind of pay more attention to. Are Clippers now the second best team? You could start making those type of arguments. All the Lakers got to do is obviously be healthy, and that's a big if. I mean, we still don't know when LeBron's coming back. We still don't know when Anthony Davis is coming back. But I do think the addition of Andre Drummond can help kind of sustain things a little bit for the Lakers, can certainly put the Lakers in a much better position than they were 24 hours ago or so. All right, let me read off a couple more comments here. Alex Trin on YouTube. Pelinka coming through in the clutch. Put your torches and pitchforks away. Well, listen, I mean, I don't know how or why anything could have happened in regards to I don't know why anyone would think that Rob Pelinka would not come through for the Lakers. I mean, he hasn't given us any reasons to not come through. Last season, what he was able to obviously pull off, what they did this offseason to go get Dennis Schroeder and to go get Montrezl Harrell. I don't know about you guys. I was a fan of the Wes Matthews move. I was a fan of Marc Gasol. I was a fan of all those moves. Not all of them are going to work out. And I think actually now, making sure Gasol comes off the bench, I think will be advantageous to Gasol. Wesley Matthews, we'll see if things can kind of turn around for him. He can start hitting some shots. But, I mean, Pelinka hasn't really messed up at all lately. At least I haven't seen anything that I feel like he's messed up on. And if people want to make the argument about Dwight Howard, fair, completely fair. But that's why I was saying let's let the season progress. See what happens come trade deadline. See what happens come buyout market. And I think it was clear that the Lakers obviously needed to add a big, and they didn't just get a big. They got by far the best big in the market. Okay, let me read off a couple more here. Eric G on YouTube, Drummond and Harrell is beast, bro. Tell you what, there's no pushing around the Lakers. I'll tell you that right now. Throw Markieff Morris in that mix there. That's what I'm saying. There's this perfect balance with the Lakers. It's like, and this is what they had last season. Last season, however you wanted to play the Lakers, they had a counter for it. And I think this is going to be the same this season. Somebody saying, dude, I thought you were off today. That was yesterday. Now today's a whole new day. Okay. All right, this is going to be a good time. Because I think Laker fans want to hit on this. DJ Pervilla, The Drive, Denver got better. First, let me read off a quick tweet from Magic Johnson, the great Magic Johnson. Congratulations to Andre Drummond for signing with the Lakers, and welcome to Los Angeles. Andre's just what the Lakers need, a big man who can score, rebound, and defend to a T. That is exactly what the Lakers needed. Laker fans, here's my question to you. One roster spot left. Sour23 says Dwight Howard is better than Andre Drummond. I'll look forward to watching that play out, and we'll take our chances on that. One roster spot left. Here's my question to Laker fans. What do you think they should do with that roster spot? I told you guys a couple weeks ago, or as we were getting closer to the trade deadline and everything else, I had mentioned that I thought this wasn't breaking news. They needed a big man and they needed a 3-and-D guy. And they got their big man all set there. It'd be, in my opinion, nice to get some type of a 3-and-D player. Now, this is a little complicated is not the right word, but some guys have not been released yet. Some players have. So I'm sure the Lakers are going to work their magic. I got a lot of people here putting up Otto Porter would be great. No complaints here. I mean, you found a way to get Otto Porter on your roster. Avery Bradley is another name, obviously, Laker fans are familiar with. I feel like the Lakers can use, how much do you want to depend on Wesley Matthews in the playoffs? How much do you want to depend on there's certain players you want to depend on. There's other players that maybe they're more of a curveball. So if you can find another vet that you can put on this roster just to kind of have even, the rich getting richer, then I think obviously that'd be incredibly advantageous for the Lakers. All right. Tony Snell on YouTube, Mo Harkless. Jay Wall, a wing defender. Someone on YouTube wants another big. They don't need another big. I think they're good now. Think about the bigs now that the Lakers have that can play big. Marc Gasol, Andre Drummond. Okay. Montrezl Harrell, Markieff Morris for smaller bigs. Okay. And then, Anthony Davis. I mean, how many more bigs do we need? We're good on the bigs front. I think a 3-and-D guy would be great. I really do. I think that would fill in. If there's any other hole for the Lakers, I think that would fill in that hole. Omar wants Avery Bradley for the last spot. Somebody else here mentioned Boogie Cousins. Man, I hope Boogie gets a spot somewhere. I don't think it's going to be with the Lakers, but I hope he gets a spot somewhere, and I hope this guy, puts himself in a position where maybe he can still get a contract after this year. Someone asking what's for lunch. Incredible question. Great question. I got a salad, some chicken waiting for me. So let me finish the show. All right. See a couple more here. Kimberly Fraley on Facebook. Last spot, 3-point shooter. No one's going to argue that one. Deontay Oscar, YouTube. Knockdown shooter. No one's going to argue that one. I see this a couple times. Victor Simpson, Gerald Green. I don't know where Gerald Green is right now or what he's doing. It's not a bad player. I mean, just think about all these players that we're talking about now, Laker fans. This is just a complete luxury. I don't think a necessity, right? I always try to use that word there. Andre Drummond was a necessity. Lakers needed Andre Drummond. Now, other teams can argue, well, we freaking need Andre Drummond. You guys are fine. You got LeBron, you got AD, you got all these other players, which is completely true. But for what the Lakers need, that's a big one. That's a big one right there. These comments, I can't keep up with the comments. Someone calling me out to Echo Park. Don't do it, bro. Not today. Weather's getting nice. Days are a little bit longer. Actually went and shot around at outdoor courts yesterday. I didn't even know the courts are open again. Went around, shot around. Probably shot around for 10 minutes, and I was breathing heavily by just shooting around. Heavily breathing. But how beautiful. Weather's nice this weekend. So don't call me out right now. All I need is a couple more sessions, and then I'll take over. Okay. Let me read off a couple more, and then I want to get by the way, did you guys see this tweet from Andre Drummond from years ago? Andre Drummond wanted to play with LBJ. Look at this tweet right here. One of my goals in life is to meet and play with or against LBJ. Well, you've already played against him. Now you can play with him. I saw something somebody else put up too. Andre Drummond was being interviewed by Dennis Scott for NBA TV after an All-Star game. And I think it was Team LeBron that won. And, LeBron interrupted the interview, whatever he shouted, Team LeBron. So these two guys get to play alongside each other. For Andre Drummond, these are the first meaningful games he's going to start playing in his career. Was with the Pistons, I think 8 seasons, with the Cavs for a little bit. It's a different story now coming to the Lakers. And, the expectations are going to be high. But the beauty is, like I said, it's not like the expectations are Everything's on his shoulders. The offense is going to run through him. Everything depends on him. Not at all like that. So, what a great position for him to be in. Okay, this is what I want to do next. We got a lot of people tuned in right now. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. The station appreciates it. So thank you for tuning in. Okay. By the way, follow me at Allen Sliwa. Follow the station at ESPN Los Angeles. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and like the video if you like the video. So wherever you're tuning in from, we appreciate it. All right. So this is one of the things I want to get into. The Lakers versus the rest of the Western Conference. All right. The Lakers versus the rest of the Western Conference. See how the Lakers stack up right now. Okay. Utah, best record still in the NBA. Still best record in the NBA. Okay. Phoenix after that. Clippers 31-16. There's Lakers at 29-17. Denver's 27-18. Denver's a game and a half. Portland's a game and a half from the Lakers. I don't really think there's too much to talk about past Denver. Maybe you want to put Portland in the conversation, but to be honest, Portland always seems like a team that gets to the playoffs, maybe makes it to the second round, and then you don't really expect too much noise after that. So let's just say Lakers versus the Jazz. Jazz, well-oiled machine. They pass the ball great. Rudy Gobert is their center. Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, great off the bench. They got a really, really nice five. Really, really nice five. When LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy, superstars win you rounds in the playoffs. They eventually win you championships. Donovan Mitchell is a great player. Is he top 15? Somewhere around there. I think that's fair to kind of put him in that category. Rudy Gobert, great at his role, playing defense, blocking shots. AD does that for the Lakers, but then he can also drop 28 a night. And I have not yet mentioned Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Andre Drummond. Utah's going to be a problem. Utah's going to be tough. But Utah and Phoenix can go in a 7-game series. Utah and Clippers can go in a 7-game series. Maybe Utah-Denver can go in a 7-game series. I don't think Utah in a 7-game set. I just don't think they're in the same conversation as the Lakers. Denver is interesting to me. I say if you had to rank top 3 teams in the Western Conference right now, I'd probably put Lakers, Clippers, and Denver in that top 3. As in when the dust settles and the top 3 teams coming into the playoffs, Denver has got some experience. They were there last season. They came back from Utah down 3-1. They came back from Clippers down 3-1. They added Aaron Gordon. They added JaVale McGee. Michael Porter Jr. is a nice player. Jokic is having an MVP caliber season. Denver, I expect to just kind of continue to rise, see their stock rise. Clippers, I think with Rondo are going to be better. Locker room, that's a good mix to a team that really doesn't have a quarterback that will speak vocally inside the locker room, outside the locker room. And listen, I get it. If Laker fans are, don't want to give any love to the Clippers, that's fine. I'm with you. Rondo was a player that was doing that for the Lakers last year. So he's going to add elements to the Clippers that they just haven't had. But again, I go back to this. Health. That's it. Health. That's all it's going to be for the Lakers. You're healthy. There's not a team in the Western Conference, maybe Clippers at the most. I don't see any of those teams beating the Lakers. I don't see any of those teams taking the Lakers 7 games. Probably 6 games is it's a fair assessment. And that's nothing against those other teams. Look at the Lakers roster with LeBron and Anthony Davis and all these other players that you have. So it has less to do with the other teams. It has more to do with what the Lakers have. Look at that starting lineup. Okay. Let me read off a couple here. I'm doing Nets next. So don't worry. It's not like I'm avoiding the Nets here. We're doing Brooklyn next. E-Money Shoes on YouTube. Let's put this into perspective. Drummond got those numbers on bad teams. Couldn't agree more. He doesn't need those numbers with the Lakers. I mean, you're not expecting Andre Drummond He doesn't need to give you 18 and 14 a night. But he'll probably give you, just because he's playing down low and he's playing 25 minutes plus, and LeBron's passing to him and Dennis Schroeder's passing him, and there's attention on Anthony Davis. He's probably going to get you 10 rebounds a game and probably 15 points a night, 14 points a night. It doesn't matter. That center position now, where you weren't getting much from Gasol, now obviously that goes up sky high. Ismael Morales on Periscope. No one scares us. Ricky Rodriguez, fear Dame. I get it. I know Laker fans. I try to get people telling me about the Portland Trailblazers and Damian Lillard. I get it. Dame's one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. The only way the Portland Trailblazers have a legitimate chance of winning an NBA championship or making real noise in the West is if Portland has a player as good or better than Damian Lillard. CJ McCollum is a nice player. He cannot be your second best player, and you think you're going to compete with these guys on this Lakers team. That's just, I think that's just how it is. Bonnie Jones, Portland is third best. Appreciate the hoodie, guys. Got this from the station. I can't remember off the top of my head the company, but it's solid. I mean, really, really cool hoodie. Really, really cool hoodie.
The Hoopery.
The Hoopery. The Hoopery. I don't know if you guys heard that just voice out of nowhere, but I heard it. The Hoopery. The Hoopery is where the sweater came from. All right. Before I get to the Nets, I'm going to read off a couple more here. Another one on YouTube. Drummond will get you 4 points, 25 rebounds, 2 blocks a game with this Lakers team. Remember Dwight Howard last year, where there were a lot of times where I thought what hurt Dwight Howard in his career, and I'm not going to make this comparison with Andre Drummond and Dwight Howard, but this is just what I think hurt Dwight Howard in his career. When he was in Orlando, he was the best defensive player in the NBA. He grabbed every rebound off the glass. He got a lot of putbacks. And I felt like what hurt Dwight Howard as his career progressed, he wanted to be the main guy on offense. His skill set was not to be the main guy. It just wasn't. Dwight Howard, it's not like Dwight Howard could face the basket, hit a solid 12-foot jumper, 15-foot jumper. It's not like he was dependable from the free throw line. It's not like he had all these back-to-the-basket moves where, where he should be the focal on offense. Last season with the Lakers, and he's doing it with Philly now, none of that has been the case, and he's kind of thrived in that role at this stage of his career. Drummond in a perfect situation to do something similar. Okay. Literally cannot keep up with these comments. UK in the house. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Let's do a little roll call here, and then I'm going to go Lakers Nets. Okay? And then the show's over, because then I got to go prep for the pregame show. Okay? A little roll call action here real quick. Now I want to talk about Lakers versus the Brooklyn Nets, okay? Because really at the end of the day, all that's happening right now is the Lakers make moves, the Nets make moves. I mean, these are the two teams that, if healthy, will be facing each other in July this year in the NBA Finals, and that should be a damn good finals. But let me get a couple of these in. Cargo City, Pennsylvania, Victorville, Toronto, Holland in the house, Burbank in the house. Somebody asking what roll call is. Roll call, very simple. You just tell me where you're tuning in from, what city that you're in. Maybe it's some part of Southern California. Maybe it's some part somewhere in the States. Maybe it's international, because Laker fans are everywhere. And I give a shout out to where you're tuning in from. That's roll call. Little Italy, San Diego. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Granada Hills, Anaheim, Torrance Beach, Highland Park, Alabama in the house, Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for tuning in. Maryland, Paris, California, Burbank, Greece in the house, Boyle Heights in the house, Rome, Italy in the house. How cool is that? Poland tuning in, Chino Hills in the house, West Palm, Florida. I can't keep up with this, Laker fans. Yuma, Arizona, Norwalk, Auburn, New York, Jamaica in the house, Boyle Heights, Hawaii literally cannot keep up. It's going too fast. It's going too fast. Chicago in the house. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. Jerusalem in the house. Miami, Buffalo. I'll get to some of those. Let me do Lakers Nets real quick. Let me get that started, and then I'll read some of this as we go. So here's the deal. The Brooklyn Nets have a pretty good team. Let's not pretend here. They got a pretty good team. Yesterday, they signed LaMarcus Aldridge on top of who they already got in the buyout market, which was Blake Griffin. They traded for James Harden earlier in the season. They got KD and Kyrie, obviously, in free agency a while back. It's a squad. This is a incredibly, incredibly impressive squad. Monrovia, Philippines, Santa Barbara, Lima, Chicago, thank you for tuning in. Palestine, thank you for tuning in. How cool is that? Jerusalem, Kuwait, thank you for tuning in. So they got a squad. No question about it, they have a squad. And if they're healthy, like we keep saying with the Lakers, if the Lakers are healthy, I'll use guys like Blake Griffin as an example. Blake's not asked to come to the Brooklyn Nets and be a star player, a franchise player. I mean, heck, Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond were on the same team together in Detroit. They couldn't make any noise. Blake's now asked to be the fourth, fifth best player on the team. Some might say Joe Harris is more important than Blake Griffin. LaMarcus Aldridge is not coming to the Brooklyn Nets to be as important as he was when he was with the Portland Trailblazers, their franchise player. He's the fourth, fifth, sixth best player, wherever you want to put him. Let's not pretend that the Brooklyn Nets don't have an unbelievable squad. But this is what it comes down to. You got the offense. Guys can score. No question about it. Can you get stops? Can you play defense? Because I think if Andre Drummond decided to go to the Brooklyn Nets, and let's say LaMarcus Aldridge did not go there, let's say LaMarcus went to Miami or something like that, I think Brooklyn would be they'd be the favorites to win an NBA championship, because that's Lakers minus Andre Drummond and Andre Drummond ending up with the Brooklyn Nets. I think that's a huge, one of the arguments I was making about Andre Drummond was, it has almost less to do. It's a combination of Lakers need Andre Drummond plus another team doesn't get Andre Drummond. It's that combination. One of those teams is the Brooklyn Nets. Look, James Harden's playing like an MVP. No question about it. KD is arguably the best player in the world, arguably, because he's behind LeBron James and wherever you want to put him, but he's got to be healthy. Kyrie Irving can hit a Game 7 three-pointer fading away to his right and win you an NBA championship. But with all that being said, how are they going to get stops when they need stops? When James Harden doesn't have the ball in their hand, is it just isolation basketball? How can they compete with the Lakers' size? Who guards Anthony Davis? And, oh, by the way, you still have Andre Drummond. That's my question to the Brooklyn Nets. When I said the Lakers can play multiple ways, you want to play rugged, tough ball, they'll adjust. You want to play fast, quick, finesse, they'll adjust. You want to play small ball, they'll adjust. Brooklyn's going to play one way. And I think that, to me, is the difference between the two franchises. It will all figure itself out at one moment. At one point, if they both are in the NBA Finals, then we're going to obviously find out. But Lakers are the team to beat in the NBA. LaMarcus Aldridge, nice addition. Blake Griffin, nice addition. I mean, look at their squad. It looks like an all-star game from a couple of years ago. It looks ridiculous. But I do think at the end of the day, you got to be able to get stops. You got to be able to play defense. And that's just not something that I think the Brooklyn Nets will not be able to play better defense than the Lakers. See what happens. This is me obviously talking out of my you-know-what. Like I said, if Andre Drummond ended up on Brooklyn and Lakers didn't have him, I would say the championship's going to run through Brooklyn. They would be the favorites. But I think now you got to feel like it's obviously you got to feel like now it's the Lakers that are going to be the favorites, and we take it from there. Okay, read off a couple of these messages, and then I'm going to get out of here. Bahamas, thank you for tuning in. Finland in the house. City Island, New York. Kansas City in the house. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Let's see what we got here. Rody Outlaw, Harden is soft. He might be soft, but the dude knows how to play. Definitely knows how to play. Right now, Harden is better than KD. That's an interesting one from Jeff Green. Maybe he's got his value to the Nets might be more valuable because he does everything, rebounds, assists, gets everybody the flow of offense. But when you have those two guys together, there's no need to put them against each other. They're both on the same squad. Iraq, thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Brandon Perez, Gasol setting up the second unit is not talked about enough. No question about it. I do think Marc Gasol, he'll be much better off coming off the bench. And I think those players, the Montrezl Harrells of the world, the Kyle Kuzmas, the THTs, will benefit from a big man who can pass the ball and is a willing big man to pass the ball. Literally, I could do the show up until the pregame show. That's how it's just a lot going on here. Arizona, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. All right, let me read off a couple more and then we're getting out of here. Alex Moya, defense wins championships. Music to my ears, buddy. Jackson, Mississippi, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Canada for tuning in as well. The defense does win championships. That's the one thing I'll say. Lakers, that championship run, they got stops. They knew how to get stops. And I don't want to make it sound like it wouldn't be an incredibly tough finals against the Brooklyn Nets, because it will and it would. But I just don't feel like they didn't address size the way I think they needed to, number one. And number two, these are not lockdown defenders. They're not lockdown defenders where I feel like the Lakers have lockdown defenders. Philippines, Virginia, Australia, thank you all for tuning in. Mexico, thank you for tuning in. Ismael Morales, hope Embiid comes back and lays a smackdown on them Nets. If not, we got it. Okay, one more comment here, and we're going to call it a day. How great is that? Andre Drummond to the Lakers. Who takes the last roster spot, Sliwa? I don't know who gets it, to be honest. And it's like, there's no need for me to go out there and just name off names. I think they addressed the big one. They got the center. Now just think of this. Let's say they went out and got Avery Bradley, just as an example. Let's say they got Avery Bradley. Think about how many guys you have that could play a potential night. So forget Andre Drummond, LeBron James, KCP, Anthony Davis, and Dennis Schroeder. Forget those five. Let's say they went out and got Avery Bradley. Now you got on the bench Kuzma, Montrez, Caruso, THT, Marc Gasol, Markieff Morris, Wes Matthews, Avery Bradley. There's 13 guys. You don't play that many guys. So I don't know what they'll do with that last roster spot, but the rich tries to get richer. That's the way this thing works. Okay, Laker fans, thank you on this Sunday afternoon for taking some time, tuning into the show. We greatly appreciate it. Pre-game show, myself and MT, starts tonight at 5:30. So pregame show coming up at 5:30. We'll obviously spend a lot of time talking about the Andre Drummond news. We'll spend a lot of time, I'm sure, getting Michael's thoughts on what this move means, what it would look like in the Western Conference, what it looks like Lakers versus Nets, so all that stuff. So we're going to spend some time on that starting at 5:30. I will do a post-game show, and then I'll do another post-game show on YouTube, so you can always join me for that. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show. Andre Drummond to the Lakers. This, let's just say this team is stacked, and hopefully he can help in the short term without LeBron and Anthony Davis until those guys come back, and then we'll go on our playoff run. Appreciate you guys tuning in.